So what's up, everybody? Welcome to this very special episode of Photo Tip Friday. I'm Jason Girallo. All right, so very excited to welcome my good friend Jeff to the show. Hey, Jeff, how are you?
Good. Did you see me dancing along to the music?
I could not, but I wish I had. I wish I had accidentally hit a wrong button and saw that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
So my good friend Phil in North Carolina wrote that theme song for me when I started talking about a YouTube channel way longer before I actually had the guts to do one. And so I've been sort of sitting on it for a while, and I'm really glad I get to use it now. So
Catchy. It was catchy.
So yeah, it's sort of like that 80s synth thing going on. I don't know.
Yeah.
So first off, what is with the world's most expensive webcam?
Oh, you saw that post. Huh? So you and I were talking the other day about my webcam. I was just using like a regular Logitech webcam, and I've been saying for a long time I really need to use like a better camera. So I was looking, and I found a Canon M3. I thought, I'll use that. It's a little mirrorless camera laying around. I'll use that. Well, it doesn't connect to the software. So Canon came out with a webcam software which lets you turn in, any SLR camera into a webcam. So I thought, I don't want to hook up a 5D because the batteries may not last long enough for this. So, and I'd yet to order the AC adapter, which I just got for the 5D. So I'm like, well, the 1DX Mark III battery is really huge. It'll last really long. So I thought, okay, I'll use that. So I've got a 1DX Mark III with a 24-105 L series lens on here. And then couldn't figure out how to put a tripod behind my big monitor. So I used a Magic Arm. Actually, it was your suggestion. So it's on a Magic Arm. I just posted the picture on social media. It's like literally almost a $10,000 webcam. It looks pretty good, I got to say.
Yeah.
But it's good.
Yeah, it better.
Yeah. And it's really overkill. So eventually I'll probably replace this with a 5D. I've got an extra 5D Mark III or Mark IV laying around. I'll probably throw one of those on there. A little less weight than the giant 1D. But it is pretty funny to sit here and have this massive camera mounted like right over my display.
So when I started doing this live thing, I took my EOS M6 Mark II, which is my vlogging camera primarily, and I stuck it to the back of my camera, and I've been using that. And I felt guilty about saying like, oh yeah, I have $1,000 webcam, but you have taken it to another level, sir.
I gotta say, it is interesting, the difference between the old webcam, which I had on there, which frankly, obviously the lens quality is not nearly what we got here. But it also, there's a lot of blowout in the background. It didn't handle the level of stops that this does. And the clarity and the eye tracking on this thing is pretty amazing. So it's about time I stepped up my game a little bit. So I really stepped up my game.
You really, yeah, you sure did. You took it to the highest level. The only thing you can do more now is if you got a medium format and put it back there.
Yeah, but you can't webcam with that. What I could do though is, if I really wanted to try, I'd put the 200 to 400 on there, and then what I do is I just stand way back, like I'd sit back in the room about 20 feet, and do it that way. That would actually be pretty funny.
Yeah,
okay.
Or stay really close, put a couple extension tubes on there, and just have your eyes.
Yeah, just eyeball. Yeah,
it's the Jeff Cable eye show.
This is a face that no one should want to see that close. It's just that way it is. Yeah.
I admitted to you privately today that I am actually wearing broadcasting makeup on my face for the first time because I don't like to see the shiny red bumps that are on my actual face, and so trying to hide the light a little bit. See, there's like that glare going off.
It's once a photographer, always a photographer. Like, here's the thing: I'll look at I'll be just doing a regular Zoom with a client, and I'm looking at there's a little bit of shine here, or geez, the background a little too hot. I should probably bring the exposure comp down. It's just the way we are. Yeah. And my neighbor was showing me a photo the other day, and immediately I noticed everything wrong with that. Of course, I don't say that, but I just say send it to me, let me fix it, because they want me to print it on my Pro 1000. And I said, well, before we print it, let me just do a couple tweaks to it. because like I see everything I want to fix, and it's just again, once a photographer, always a photographer. So.
I don't know how many other YouTubers are spending time fixing their white balance before going live, like we were, and making sure we don't look weird or any.
No, we look weird.
Yeah, oh yeah. That's true.
There's nothing a camera can do to fix that.
Not enough a camera can do. So before we go any further, I wanted to open it up. I see that we got some people watching us, and I wanted to remind you, if you comment, we actually see the comments live coming through. So if you comment, we can see it. So if you have anything that you'd like to say or shout out or whatever like that, we'd love to see you say hi. So post your comments in the chat below, and we will see it come through. Obviously this has been an interesting year for everybody in the photography business and in all businesses. And getting a little more seriously, the 2020 Olympics was postponed. We thought maybe canceled and then postponed. And then here it comes 2021. What is it? How are you preparing mentally for this? Like, it's going to be back to back. It's going to be just a few months apart now, where you got summer and then winter. And how are you getting ready for that?
It's craziness. I mean, the problem is in the past, I was trying to explain this to someone the other day. I think when I was talking to someone from Canon, this positive and negative, what are you drinking? Are you drinking alcohol?
Yeah, it's an adult beverage. It's a little bit of bourbon.
I'm so lame compared to you. I'm just drinking. So, but anyway, so the Olympics is already a stressful environment, and it's already, the planning process is brutal. Trying to figure out, how much clothes to bring, what camera gear to bring, all that kind of stuff. Figure out schedules and where I'm going to shoot at what time, all those things. And so what's happening right now is we just don't know what's going on. I mean, I've heard the same rumors that you have, where it's like, it's on, it's off, it's on, it's off. It's on. I mean, I can pretty much say at this point, the Olympics will happen. Athletes will be there. Media will be there. They're saying that they're not going to allow any any foreigners outside of Japan to be in the stands as spectators. Now, that rule will be probably generally held. Whether or not they'll allow sponsors, family members, all that kind of stuff is TBD. I think they will. And so it'll be very strange to be at an Olympics with really no foreigners to mingle with. And the restrictions that we've been told so far are pretty intense as far as social distancing, mask wearing. They're not requiring vaccinations right now, although I'm fighting like hell to get vaccinated hopefully next week in preparation for. But there's a lot of other weird things, like we may have to make reservations to go shoot any event. So in the past, if I'm shooting water polo and I've got spare time in the afternoon, let's say after a game, I've got spare 6 hours. I'll be walking by a venue for wrestling or boxing or God knows what. And I'll say, I'll go in there and shoot that for a couple hours. And it may be that you can't if you haven't made reservations. So it's going to be really strange. There's some positives. I blog every day, as you know, from the Olympics. Yep. I think the blog will do really well because I think people are going to be interested in what the hell it's like over there, because it's going to be so different than anything we've ever tackled in the history of the Olympics, really. Yeah. And so that will be, good for readership. And there'll be pockets of things that will be easier for me. Wait, are you really up in Sweden? Wow, that is amazing. Sandeep, kudos to you, because it's really late. But, drink some more coffee and stick around with us here. But anyway, so I think one of the positives is like opening and closing ceremonies. We're all crammed into a seat. And I'm sitting here with the 200 to 400 lens I just grabbed and all my gear, and you're in one seat, and it's brutal. Well, now what they're saying is there's going to be like 2 or 3 seats in between every photographer. And, of course, I don't think the opening and closing ceremonies will be full. I think it'll be, 1/3 capacity. So I'll have room for gear. It won't be as crowded getting out and getting back to the hotel, all those kinds of things. It will be an experience. And like you said, the challenge I have is not only will it happen, when will it happen, how will it happen? Like right now, I've had flights booked for quite a while to go. Of course, I had flights booked in 2020, moved them to 2021. Now there's rumors that we may have to go 2 weeks early and quarantine there. I can't. I've got events to shoot. Sure. So I don't know what's going to happen with that. And they do kind of want us to self-quarantine here prior to, which I can do to a certain extent. Obviously, we have to be COVID tested, I think, every couple of days or God knows what. That'll be fun. And then I come back from that trip, and usually post-Olympics, we're exhausted because going 9 in the morning till 3 in the morning every day for 3 weeks. I come home for, I think, 6 days and turn around and fly to Africa for 5 weeks on photo tour, which I'm not complaining about because going on safari for 5 weeks is a blast. But, it means in over 2 months, I'll be home for 5 days or 6 days. Yeah. So, of which I'll be sleeping probably a lot of it. So, and then it's Africa, Costa Rica, Cuba, or God knows where, all these other places. I think another trip to Japan, and then off to Beijing for the Winter Olympics. So right now, I'm literally dealing with emails from the TOCOG, which is Tokyo Organizing Committee, and BOCOG, which is the Beijing Organizing Committee, at the same time. So they're overlapping, which has never happened before, where I'm trying to plan 2 Olympic Games at one time, and that's daunting to say.
I can't even, it's one of those things where it's such a domino effect that it seems like it's just, and the athletes who are prepared and now their timing is off. And I just think that, and I'm wondering how many countries may not send athletes if there are, because of COVID, if they're, worried, or athletes that quote unquote opt out like they did with professional sports.
Yeah, they might. I think that these people train, this is, unlike professional sports where they do this a lot, these are athletes that train for every 4 years. So I don't know that they would back out. And they might. But I think that most of them will be vaccinated, if not all of them. I know that, probably most or all the press would be as well. So hopefully at that point, we won't have to deal with it. They're still going to have all these protocols in place. I'm feeling, a lot of it's probably going to depend on these variants that are out there.
Sure.
It would suck if one of those becomes immune to the vaccines, then we have a whole nother issue.
Yeah.
I shouldn't even say that.
God forbid. Yeah.
So far, it hasn't happened. So yep. I think, I'm looking forward to it. I'm hoping it happens. Mentally, I've been prepped for it for a year. I'm used to traveling all the time. So having only traveled one time in the last year is bizarre. And my next trip, honestly, we had to cancel Costa Rica next week. So, which I think is the 8th trip we've canceled, which really blows. But, so really the next big trip would be the Olympics. And so right. I'm looking forward to it. I'd love to do it. And I think the competition will be as good as it's ever been. It's just who's watching it. Right.
Well, I think you got to be feeling, especially for someone like you who does travel so much, you got to be feeling like, oh man, I can't wait to get the suitcase rolling and go into, see the things you're used to seeing, because it'll feel a little bit more like normal all of a sudden.
Yeah, probably. Obviously nothing has been normal this year in the last, I call it 2020 and 2020 and a half, right? That's where we're at now. It's not just travel, right? It's all the events. I had, 18 events that have postponed or canceled or scaled down. And I've got cancellations for events right now into November of this year, which is crazy. I'm like, well, wait, but we're going to be vaccinated. And like, no, we don't know if family wants to fly in, they're going to feel safe. So we're going to push it to 2022. And the good news is, I will say for all the photographers out there, I do think, and hopefully they're feeling this too, we're starting to get people that are contacting saying, hey, I want to talk to you about doing a wedding. I want to talk to you about doing a bar mitzvah or a big party or whatever. And so the last week or so, I've seen a big spike in leads for people that want me to shoot events. And I'm already booked for this whole year. So if I can book out 2022, 2023, 2024, which is what I'm doing now, great, I'll take it.
Sure. Yeah.
But, it's just, I think, for the last year, we've been living with this giant question mark, and that question mark still continues for at least a little bit more. So.
Yeah, I was talking to a wedding planner today, and she had a couple who was supposed to get married last June. Then they were going to get married last October. Then they were going to get married this June. And now they're pushed their wedding out to next June, 2022, just because there are family members that do not want to travel. And
also, these people are really getting tired of rebooking and because you think about the planning process for a wedding or a large event. And it's really tough on these families. So to do
Mhm.
it 4 times is brutal.
I wouldn't want to plan my wedding 4 times. So yeah, I hear
Right.
that.
So, I mean, there's certain things obviously that transition from one to the next, but I mean, and I feel it too, because, I'll get all prepped up for shooting and then the rug gets pulled out. And I'm like,
Yep.
oh, never mind, we're not shooting. This weekend I was supposed to shoot. Now I'm not shooting. Most of them are doing at least half days now, which is good. But again, you just don't know if, what's going to happen.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's one of those things where I think the uncertainty is as scary, especially for people who make photography their living, right? Because it's not just that the life has been interrupted with all of the COVID stuff, but it's that your business is being interrupted. And I know that goes for me, for sure, where, it's just ghosts sometimes. And, hopefully it's going to get better soon.
Yeah, I tell people I always felt like I had the trifecta. I had events like bar mitzvahs and weddings and things here locally or destination. And then I have my photo tours and then the Olympics. I'm like, if one goes down, the other one goes up, whatever. So to sit there and think that something could kill off all 3 of them was almost unheard of, right? So, financially it's been very tough. And luckily I had a lot of clients who had not picked albums or images yet. So I went to all those clients who hadn't done that stuff and said, now's your chance. You're home. You can't go anywhere. Start picking your images. And so from a revenue stream perspective, that helped.
Yeah.
But, all the photo tours got scrubbed and everything else. And so it's been a challenge mentally and I think creatively as much as anything. So, yeah, financially it sucked. But creatively, it's really hard because you want so bad to be able to shoot and create. And, I just did senior portraits. I just blogged it. The ones I took last week. And it was such a breath of fresh air. Like, oh my God, I get to shoot and create and, try different lighting techniques. And I put her mom to work, like, okay, hold the flash over here, do this. And it was like, we got some really cool stuff. And it was like, oh God, it felt good. I even told them and they're like, we'll have to pay you. I said, well, I'm gonna have to pay you because, it's, just nice to get out there and do what I do. So.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's something that you don't realize because you feel like it's just always going to be there, and then it's not. So thank you, Cowboy. We really appreciate that comment. That's for sure true.
But let me just state that, I mean, we're all going through it. And so
yeah.
I'm sure you are too. I know you wrote, thank you for that comment. But I mean, we're all dealing with it. And look, I'm fortunate. I feel fortunate to be able to weather the storm. There's a lot of people who have gone through a lot worse. Mm-hmm. And so I feel lucky to at least weather the storm. And hopefully, I'm really hoping that we're at the tail end of it. I feel positivity. I feel like things are starting to, at least, whether we're booking stuff for next week. Actually, I did get a wedding inquiry too, actually, for the next 2 months.
Nice.
So maybe the things are coming. But regardless, I mean, I'm lucky that I can weather the storm and move forward. There's a lot of people out there who, and actually I know, Jason, you invested a lot of money in camera equipment and stuff, at the wrong time.
It's a very wrong time.
You and I were talking before the pandemic hit, and, you were making this investment and you're a good photographer, and it was like, okay, you're going to do great. I told you, you're going to do fine. And then this happened. So I look at that and think, it could be worse. And so I feel bad for everybody that this is affected. And, it's not just people in business. It's the kids that can't go to school or can't have the social interaction and all those things. So not being able to shoot the Olympics is a hardship for me, but the athletes have a bigger hardship because they've been training incessantly for 4 years. All those things, you could cascade this out in different ways. So, yeah. Oh,
we got another comment.
Yeah,
I'm going to shrink you down so that we can see it here.
So if you want to get to the next level, what you do is you just go out and practice. And honestly, it's what I do all the time. And even during COVID, I'll go out there and experiment with some different things. I shot some of my own YouTube videos for free to put up there and tried some different things. And there's so much content out there, for trying to practice and get better at your photography. And on my website, I've got an area called My Videos, or I fear Jeff's Videos or whatever, and they're all free. and there's a ton of them up there on some different tips and tricks and things. So,
and if you look at the scroll right below, I am offering a 6-week Become a Photo Ninja educational series starting on Friday, April 9th at 6:30 Eastern Standard Time. So if you're in this country, it's Eastern Standard Time. If not, it's also going to be recorded, so you can sign up and get the recordings later. And the first class is only $6. So if it's something that you're, $6, and it's worth a try. If you hate it, never have to see me again.
Cheaper than my webcam.
It's a little cheaper than your webcam. It's a good opportunity for me to do a plug. I appreciate that.
Yeah, there you go. And the other thing to think about is I always tell people that photography is like a foreign language. And if you don't do it a lot, you'll forget it, right? And so if you just practice all the time, you will get. I mean, I looked at stuff that I shot. I was just looking at something I shot for the family that wants to hire me to do their wedding. I shot their kid's bar mitzvah 14 years ago, I think, or something. And I look back at my photos and I'm like, ugh. Like, they weren't that good.
But that's supposed to happen, though. Yeah.
I know. And I look at that, and she's like, you're an amazing photographer. And I'm like, well, I wasn't then. Like, they were very happy with what I provided for them. But, it's the learning that makes it interesting. Mm-hmm. So, and I'm glad you've been learning from me. That's cool. And I'm happy to be an inspiration to anybody. I actually had someone else email me this morning and say that I inspire them. And there's nothing that's better than, being that person that can inspire somebody else. And thank you for that. Because those kinds of comments are honestly, that's what keeps us going through all this negativity that we've gone through. Is like, I still love what I do. I'm passionate for what I do. And I want to keep doing it. And I think we will. I think a year from now, hopefully everything will be back to normal. We'll get through all this crap. We'll start slowly increasing with business. Parties will go from 20 to 40 to 60 people to 80 people. And eventually, we'll get up to where we used to be or whatever. And then we'll be happy.
So I've been a keto dieter on and off over the last year. And with keto, you can't eat any sugar, obviously carbs. But let me tell you, the first bite of sugar after you can't do it for months is the sweetest. And so if you're, we've been going through COVID for all this time. So when we finally get to do things we couldn't do for a year, it's going to be very sweet.
Yeah. Yes. I can't do keto. I like sugar too much.
It's hard.
I do have to go on a diet. I did not gain the COVID 20 pounds that a lot of people did because I walked so much. I still do. I need to drop some weight. And I was looking at getting the vaccine, and I went to the CDC site, and they're like, I typed in my weight, my height, and they go, "Oh, you're obese." I'm like, thanks. Right, well, at least I get my vaccine.
Get the vaccine. Yeah. Hey, that's how I got the vaccine.
And the weight that they said that I should be, if I was that weight, I'd be like emaciated. I would be like, you'd see me like, I'd have to get like I'd have to use the 200 to 400 just to like see me.
Macro lens.
Seriously crazy. Yeah. But anyway, but look, like I said, I feel the positive energy. I do. I think things will come back and we'll be happy and all of that. So
don't let glass hold you back. It is.
I like
don't let glass.
That's funny. But I get it. Glasses, good lenses really do help. It's not everything. I was going to do a blog on, can you use a consumer grade lens and still take it? Like, can you use a kit lens, the 18 to 55 little plastic lens that comes with the Canon? Can you do a job with that? What is that lens?
That's a kit lens.
Is it? Yeah, but that's that little plastic one that Canon ships.
That's the Sony, 28 to 70. It's my backup when I'm doing a 2-camera shoot where I need two 24 to 70s.
Right.
That's my secondary lens, and it's fine.
Yeah, I don't know. Honestly, I don't think I could shoot really great portraits with a 18 to 55 kit lens, but
no.
In a studio backdrop with good lighting, probably. But
that was for a video shoot. So right. It's a little different situation. This is my normal G Master lens, so it's obviously a little bit of a price difference.
Well, and this is the thing, like people ask me all the time about equipment, and yes, equipment's important. You can't go to the Olympics with a kit lens; it's just not going to work. So it makes a difference, but it's still not everything. And I've seen people take amazing photos with an iPhone, right? It's really a matter of where you are, what you're doing, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you know, I've talked to some other photographers who really do believe sort of the next generation of the Annie Leibowitzes and Ansel Adamses are going to be found on Instagram, mostly shooting with an iPhone or Android device, because that's the device everybody can almost everybody can afford, at least, hashtag first world problems. But it's one of those things where I think it's become just such a part of us that that's where those people are going to start from anyway. Even if they don't stay there, even if they graduate to other cameras, they're going to pick up their first camera. It's not going to be an Canon AE1. It's going to be an iPhone.
Yeah, and that's great. One of the kid that I just photographed the senior portraits for, she does a lot of photography. She has an SLR, but a lot of the stuff she does with her phone. Mm-hmm. And so as we were shooting her senior portraits, I said, I'll just go ahead and teach the whole time I'm shooting. So I went and I said, okay, if you look at what I'm doing with lighting now, I don't want you standing here because the light's going to compete with you back here. Let's move you to here. And I explained depth of field and why we're shooting at what aperture I was and all that. Because she has an SLR and she just haven't really picked it up lately. And then when I dropped her off at the house with her mom and I was getting ready to leave, and she went and grabbed her camera and I changed a bunch of the settings on it. Because one of the things that drives me crazy, and I've said this before, is when you get a camera from Canon and they have it so that the focus spread is everywhere. You hit the button and it decides where it's going to focus. Mm-hmm. And it's like, how does it know what you want to focus on? So I always put on that center point focus and tell them, just put that on the eye and shoot. So I changed a bunch of settings on our camera for her and said, okay, now go out there and shoot with that camera because you'll up your game a little bit more.
Yeah.
But, look, like I said, people can take great shots with an iPhone, even with like a Nikon. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, and he's okay. So that's perfect timing. He has a Nikon D7100.
Yeah, that's a good camera. Honestly,
yeah, I owned a D7100.
Those lenses are fine. I mean, that's a good starting point. And look, we've all started with less than optimum lenses, or one flash, or the built-in flash in the camera, God forbid, whatever. So yes, it's a process. And,
right.
And one of the great things is when you do your first job and you earn money and you save that money, and the second job, third job, you put that money toward the next lens, and then you get better. Now you can charge more, and you do the next 3 jobs. Now that goes into savings or reinvesting into better stuff. And so it is that revolving kind of work up to the better stuff.
But don't become Jason, who has invested in every single camera brand that there exists at least once, maybe twice, sometimes 3 times, because you end up spending more in the long run. You're better off finding the camera that you're passionate about, the brand that you want to be passionate about, and investing your money there.
Especially reinvesting in that glass. And the thing is, for me, over the years that I've shot, which is now closing in on 17, 18 years, whatever it's been, and there's been many times where I've been propositioned by Nikon, Sony to switch, especially for the Olympics. And, I've stuck with Canon, and my contacts at Canon, and Canon does sponsor me. And they said to me, look, we'll get there, in mirrorless, and we'll have a very good competitive product. And if you look at the R5 and the R6, those are great products. And so I'm glad I stuck with them. But, there was a point, I think before the London Olympics or Rio, I think it was London. I don't remember. And Canon was getting ready to come out with a 1DX. I think it was London. And they were delayed. And they're getting closer and closer to opening ceremonies. I'm like, guys, are you going to come out with this thing or not? And they did. All of them were at the Olympics. Every product that existed was at the Olympics. And so I didn't switch. I'm glad I didn't. And the other thing is, I don't want to be one of those photographers that just, you see them on social media, they're like, oh, Canon's the best camera. And then, because someone backs up a truck of money to them or gives them a bunch of free product, Nikon's the best camera. It's like, I don't want to be that person. And so I've been very consistent with what I've used over all the years. The only thing I switched from Epson printers to Canon printers. That's because Canon really wanted me to, and they are great printers. And I did switch. The only product I switched because I really felt there was an upgrade is I switched from low pro bags to think tank bags, and the think tank bags are amazing. I mean,
they are amazing,
much better product. So there's nothing wrong with low pro, but think tank is better. So
yeah, that's what's sitting right there is my think tank.
I've got them all over here. So
we got Marianne. Looking forward to your Africa trip.
Yeah, that trip. That's the other thing. So when I come back from, as I mentioned, I come back from the Olympics and head straight there. It's going to be an unbelievable trip. So I love going there. It's so amazing photographically, but also the people, the culture. I tell people, I know it's expensive, but if you can go one time in your life, you have to go to Africa. So I'm looking forward to it too, Marianne. It'll be really great. And as for tips for shooting video, actually, I'm going to be teaching you the entire time you're there. So we'll talk about still shooting, video shooting, and a bunch of other things, even, the animal behavior, all that stuff. So one of the things is, and you know this, Jason, I have complete passion for photography. And so, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, if people want me to teach, I'll teach. Yep. Like when we just did the tour in Costa Rica in November, we snuck one in during COVID. And we had a couple evenings where we had a couple hours, and I'm like, okay, I'll do a critique. So we did a photo critique, and then every night we ended up doing a critique, or every other night. Some people were too tired to show up because they were exhausted. I just kept going. And so I'll teach till we're done. There'll be a lot to learn.
Mary, my wife, Mary, said to me earlier today, she goes, "I'm sorry I wasn't listening." I said, "Well, why would you? For the last 10 years, the only thing you've heard out of me is want camera, want lens, And it's nice knowing at least one other human being who's as crazy passionate about photography as I am. So Jeff, I do appreciate that. I know you are.
If not more so. Yeah. Oh, thanks, David. David went with us to Costa Rica. And thanks. I'm glad you like the pictures. It's fun. Writing the blog is fun. I mean, it's a good way to share, not only what I'm shooting, but some of my thought processes. As I explained in that video, even me, I've shot all these years. I woke up at 4:30 in the morning the night before that shoot thinking, holy crap, like where she wants to shoot these pictures is really tough. The lighting's brutal. The weather is suspect. We don't know what it's going to be. So I thought I better come up with a plan A, a plan B, a plan C, which I did. And I called her mom and said, here's what we're going to do. And where we'll be driving because I don't know what we're going to have. So I still get nervous about it and still learn. And that's why I blogged it. Like, here's what we tried. Here's what it looks like if you don't pop, external flashes here, all that kind of stuff. So it's fun. I like sharing that.
So Cowboy lives in Indiana and he doesn't get out much, I guess, but that's okay. You can make great images.
No one gets out much. This is COVID. So join the rest of us. But going to the zoo is a great place to learn. I mean, honestly, I got pictures of lions in the zoo well before I ever went to Africa. Yeah. And that's where you want to use a really long lens. You want to go at the right time of day so that you have good light. And, a lot of the things that hold true in Africa hold true in a zoo. One of the tricks I don't know if it's kosher or not, but they say if you make noise with your keys, it gets the animal's attention because usually when they get fed, the feeder comes in with keys to open the cages or whatever. And so they say if you rattle your keys, they'll look right at you. And I've tried that. So anyway, but
the only safari I'm going on anytime soon is going to be the safari at Animal Kingdom. So it's okay. And don't apologize. I know you haven't seen my work. It's okay. Most people probably haven't. I'm not famous, but I try hard.
I'm not famous. I'm just me. What does Pete say? Pete says Prague Zoo was great and want to travel. We all have the travel bug. I think one of the things that we're going to see here moving forward is just everybody wanting to travel. I mean, and we're seeing this already. So Africa's already sold out for this year. We already have people booking for 2022. I just added a bunch of photo tours for 2022 and 2023 because I think we're all just tired of being home. And the emotional challenges that we've all been through is like it's nothing. No one's ever been through this before, right? I mean, you can't look back at a time where it's been the same. Because even if you go back to the Spanish flu, which they talk about, the 1918 or whatever it was.
1920, yeah.
I don't think everybody was on Zoom at the time back then. So it's just different. I mean, we're lucky that we have who's calling me? Don't call me right now. We're just lucky that we have all this technology, but at the same time, I think we've all gotten tired of it too.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't wait to hug my family and all that. Definitely
Yeah.
see friends.
God, yeah.
Marianne, I was talking about think tank bags. What was the other bag you mentioned in particular? Messenger style
Oh,
bag.
yeah. There's the Low Pro is the other bag. LOWEPRO. Um,
But
uh,
think tank makes an awesome messenger bag.
they do. Think tank bags are unbelievable. And Marianne, you can email me and I'll send you a link to that. But the one bag that I use the most is the Think Tank Streetwalker Roller. It's the backpack and rolling bag, which if you're traveling all the time, it's awesome because if you get on an airplane, they don't want to see you with multiple rollers because they're like, you can't do that. I go, oh, it's a backpack. Or I'll just wear the backpack onto the plane, take it right back off again and roll it away.
That's slick.
It's pretty
That's
awesome.
very slick. Yeah. I have one of each. I have a low pro roller, the pro roller 500 or whatever, and a think tank. This giant thing here.
Oh, it's green.
Yeah, it's a mind shift. Which is I know made by Think Tank.
You know, they have a new one, which is this little one, and you can tell still has the stuff. I haven't used it. It's almost too small. It's really tight. Yeah. For someone who doesn't have tons of gear, this is a cool little bag.
Yeah, that's really cool.
But the backpack I normally use, which I better be careful because it's open. This is the roller, the Streetwalker roller. And the cool thing about this particular bag is, let me just close it so I don't dump all my camera gear out.
That'd be good, yeah.
The cool thing is it's got a slot for the laptop. It's got the rolling wheels, right? But it also, the back opens up. And so this becomes the backpack right here.
That's awesome. That's
very
awesome.
It's a really, really, well, almost dumped over my 200 to 400. It's a killer bag. And then I've got the big airport roller as well. Like for the Olympics, I take both those bags. So I think you do have that. It's funny. David thinks he has the same roller. When I go on photo tours, I don't realize the influence I have on people. And I go and half the people will have the same bags I have. That's really confusing.
I bet.
Every stop. And it's like, whose bag is what? Yeah. That's pretty
not to get too deep into the bag harness conversation, but do you use like a moneymaker harness when you're shooting with two cameras or not your thing?
I have the dual strap from Black Rapid.
Rapid dual strap.
I rarely ever shoot with two cameras on me. I don't like being held down with a second camera because I want to be able to run. So I usually only have one camera with me and I'll just switch out. Now, what I do have on my strap that people are blown away by, and most people don't even know about this thing. And this is the Acrotech makes this little device that locks in, so I can just go to any camera. Here's my R6, snap it on and lock it, and now it's not going anywhere.
That's awesome.
Until I release this and then take it off. So I have this on every strap. So if I want to switch cameras, I just run over, grab the other camera, and snap it on there, and it's awesome. So I live on that thing. I take two straps.
I use the spider holster. I don't know if you've used those before. Yeah, I really like. Well, I have a bad back, so it takes all the weight off my shoulders and back, which is nice. It's puts it on your hips.
Yeah, I mean the neck harnesses. It's something I've never understood. All the camera companies they ship, even when you get a 1DX Mark III, like my webcam. And they give you this really crappy camera strap with it. And I'm like, I told Ken, I go, if someone is spending $7,000 on a camera body, give them a good strap. Because the neck strap is brutal. Like if you ever want to ruin your back or your neck, use a neck strap. So at least with the Think Tank strap, I can just throw it on my shoulder here and it goes across. This is very comfortable to me. Mm-hmm. Like I'm just used to this. And then I can just bring up the camera and shoot. But it's really comfortable to have it go across the shoulder. I can't imagine ever using a neck strap again.
When I first started, I didn't know better, and I used an upgraded neoprene neck strap.
Me too.
With a Nikon 200 to 500 hanging off the end of it on my neck. Yeah, so now I have a vertebrae in my neck that I can move around because it's been damaged. Thank you.
Sponsored by Nikon.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough.
Just stupidity.
People forget that when we're out and we're shooting all day and you're carrying these big lenses, they get heavy.
Mm-hmm.
these cameras. And honestly, moving from the 1DX Mark III, which is a primary camera for when I shoot events, to something like the R6 is great because the R6 is half the weight.
Right.
So I am hoping for a sports mirrorless camera like an R1 or whatever Canon might call it. Maybe we'll have that for the Olympics. Who knows?
So good segue. So last year when we did a podcast last year, almost a year ago, R1 or R5 was a soon to be happening rumor at that point, and the EOS R was the only Canon mirrorless full frame camera, which at the time I had still had or was just sold, I think.
Right.
And at the time, I remember you saying like the EOS R wasn't really for you, but maybe the R5 will be. And obviously, you love those cameras. So tell me a little bit about what it was like transitioning to mirrorless, because it's hard. It's a big change.
It is a big change. It's been amazing. Like it's hard to shoot with a DSLR after shooting mirrorless. In some cases, I mean, there's a lot of amazing things that the mirrorless does. Obviously, the fact that you can see exactly what you're shooting and you can tweak your exposure comp and see it right in through the viewfinder. But the eye tracking, I think the biggest thing for me is when I'm shooting with the R6. I'm using the R6 primarily. I don't need the resolution of the R5 for shooting events, but the face and eye tracking is so damn good, and I mean so good that I just leave it in face detection mode 90% of the time when I'm shooting, and it actually takes one big piece out of my photography. So it used to be, I'd take my camera and I'd sit there and I'd get it up to my eye and I go, okay, now I get the focal point on their eye and I'd either back button focus and lock in and shoot or focus and recompose or whatever. But a lot of what I was doing was, is my eye sharp? Is my eye sharp? Is my eye sharp on my subject? Now, I just let the camera do it, and the take rate is ridiculously good. Like my take rate is doubled. And so now, not only is the quality of the images better because it's locked in so tight, but it's also one less thing to think about. So as a photographer, I did a video for B&H years ago called The 15 Things I Think About Every Time I Hit the Shutter Button.
Yeah, I've seen that one.
And like we forget that's all that crap is going on in our head. So like in the blog I just did in San Francisco with those senior portraits, well, I get her there. Okay, well, let's fix the pose a little bit. Wait, try doing this with your hands. Okay, good. That looks good. Now, how's my background? What's my foreground? Oh, wait, we need aperture. I want to see the Gold Gate Bridge in the background. I don't want to be at 2.8 because it'll be too blurry. Let's go to f6.3 for that. Now I can see my background a little better. Now we got to add light. So should I do remote lights, one flash, two flashes? Two flashes. Okay, that's a little too flashy. Let's go down -1. So I'm powering them down. Then I'm looking at, okay, my ISO's got to be low enough so my shutter speed's below 250 to the second. Blah, 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 right? Like all this stuff that's in your head. So the fact that the R series camera takes the biggest piece, which is focus, out of the equation for me and just does it, lets me focus on the other stuff. And so that has been the biggest thing. Now, does that translate in sports? Well, we haven't had sports in a year for me to really test it out. So I'm hoping to have credentials in 5 days to shoot the San Jose Earthquakes game, which is the pro soccer team here.
Nice.
And just dealing with COVID protocols there. But I may be able to shoot that. So instead of taking the 1DX Mark III, I'll probably take the 1DX Mark III. I'll probably try to shoot the whole thing with the R6 and see how it tracks the athletes. Because I'm really curious to see how it does.
We're no longer calling it the 1DX Mark III. It's just Jeff's webcam.
Exactly. So do I take the webcam off and use it for sports? Yeah. Pete says he's got the R6 and easier to use than the 5D Mark IV. And I totally agree with that. It's the image quality is as good as the 5D Mark IV, maybe even a little bit better, but definitely right up there. But what it does, and also the flexibility of dials and wheels and changing stuff to whatever you want it to be, and the menu system, it's good.
I think the one thing that Canon got a lot of things right with the R5 and R6, but the one thing that they did really well, and Sony and Nikon does really well too, is I think the ergos on those cameras, the ergonomics on those cameras is just, it's so spot on. I'm a Sony shooter, so it's one of my Sony cameras. And I can tell you for a fact that as much as I like my Sonys, they don't feel nearly as good in the hand as the Canons. And I'd say it's probably Canon and Nikon in that order, and then Sony probably behind like Fuji. Like it's pretty far to, and like Panasonic too. Like
So
I think Canon.
the A9 when Sony released the A9, I thought everybody's talking about the A9. Oh my God, this is the ultimate camera. And if you look at it from a spec perspective, it was pretty amazing. So I went down to my local camera store and said, "Let me see the A9." So I picked it up. And it just did not feel good at all. The menu system was funky, and the camera didn't feel good. And I'm like, nope. Like on paper, on spec, I'm like, oh my God, this is like a perfect camera. And I picked it up. I'm like, yeesh, this is not what I want. And so, now granted, I'm used to the feel of a Canon. Like when I first started photography almost 20 years ago, people were talking about cameras. They go, this one, I don't know, this one feels really good in the hand. And I'm like, who cares? Like, does it take a good picture or not? Right? But it does matter.
Yeah.
But to me, when I'm shooting something like an event or at the Olympics, you cannot sit there and it's like I was talking about with focus. You can't completely rely on. You can't sit there and think, okay, how do I change this? It has to be second nature.
Innate. Yep.
And so Canon does a really, really good job with that. And Carl wants to know if I switch completely to mirrorless. Yeah, I have not switched completely because I only have the R6 right now. I have not purchased multiple mirrorless cameras, but I do suspect that in the next 6 months or so, that could happen. And really, it's up to Canon what their direction is. So, for instance, if Canon comes out with a pro sports shooting camera like an R1, I'll call it that because the 1DX is their top line DSLR. If they would come out with something like that, I would probably switch to that. And mainly because of all these new features they have and just the usability and the intuitiveness of it. So, yeah. Any downside of the adapter? Zero. And I mean zero. There's actually on my 70-200 right here. Did I switch to the new 7200? Nope. Just have the adapter on the back. And this is the one with the control ring on it. So I can take that and roll it around. I don't use it that often. But yeah, the adapter is strictly electronics. There's no glass at all. It's just a hole through there. It's just air. But it works perfect. And there's absolutely zero degradation of quality. There's zero degradation of speed of focusing. So
would you get the new 70-200? Just because it's like so small for travel?
That would be the only reason. Because I've been using this lens for, I don't know, forever, 10 years, 12 years, 15 years, and it's awesome. Honestly, maybe I sell this one when I go completely. Here's the thing. Right now, I still do use my 5D or my 1DX. So I can use that lens on any camera with the adapter. If I switch to the RF lens, it can only work on the RF because there's no adapter backwards.
True.
Right? So if I were to switch to full mirrorless, then I'd switch on my lenses. But like the 200 to 400, this big beast of a lens, I'm not going to, I mean, this is a $10,000 investment, right? So do I really want to sell this if they come out with an RF version? If it's a lot smaller, maybe. But otherwise, I just put the adapter on it. So it is nice for all those people who have the EF lenses, L-series lenses, whatever they've invested in, to just go ahead and put the adapter on. And really, like I said, I've got the adapter. I've got numerous adapters here. And I've got one with the control ring that you saw, and I have one without. And the one without's $99. And honestly,
yeah, can't beat that.
So you buy one of those, or if you really want, like I actually got a couple of them so that on my most used lenses, I've got the adapter on there already. I don't really need that though. Really, one adapter is all you really need. And all your lenses then work. So
I think the one thing that no one really has thought about, and probably because I'm broke, this is something I think about all the time in the advantages of Canon and Nikon against Sony, and that is if you're looking at long glass, so like a 500 f4, 600 f4, 400 2.8, you can buy the Mark 1 or Mark 2 versions of those lenses for like $3,000 or $4,000 used or $5,000 used. You can't. With Sony, you can buy the Sony 400 2.8 for $12,000 and the 600 f4 for $13,000, and that is your choice.
Right.
You can't get the older version and deal with it being maybe a little bit heavier or bigger. Still sharp, still great, just a little older and heavier. I'd save a ton of money.
If I switch to mirrorless completely, I will be selling. There'll be a blog post to tell you what I'm selling, because I will be selling some product. I do a bunch of stuff that, and I baby my stuff. Like all of my cameras, this is a 5D Mark III, and there's not a scratch on it. Like I baby my stuff. And so, when I'm selling it, I know it's good. And I usually don't sell my flashes because I pop
thousands of strobes. Yeah.
So, and I tell people, like, I've sold a couple in the past. I think these have a lot of use on them. But I mean, those things last forever. So, Pete, the adapter works on non-Canon lens. Anything that Canon mount will work, because all it's doing is basically taking the pinouts of the R and converting it to an EF pinout. Now, the cool thing on the R series is that there's a lot more pins, a lot more communication going between the camera and lens, which means theoretically you should have faster focusing and more feature capabilities and all that. So now, have all those come out yet or been released by Canon? Probably not. So,
do you have to increase your sensor cleaning with mirrorless?
No, actually, I don't think I've ever cleaned the sensor on mine.
I think the Canon and my A9 II does, and I know the EOS R did. It closes the shutter when you take the lens off, so it prevents the dirt from getting onto the mirror or onto the sensor.
You have to remember to turn your camera off first, I believe.
Turn your camera off, yeah.
But I have not actually cleaned the sensor on it. I do have a sensor cleaner. I did talk to my contacts at Canon, and they said that the same sensor cleaning I do for the DSLRs can be used for the mirrorless. So.
And Cowboy said that his car and motorcycle together didn't cost $12,000.
You know what? I get that. Yeah, and this is a used one. I didn't spend that much either. Trust me.
I have yet to convince Mary to allow me to buy a $12,000 lens either. So.
You know what? I'll tell you what. It's funny. I was talking to Apple about this because Apple has given me some equipment to use for the Olympics, and one of the things that we talked about was their new XDR monitor, and that's what I'm using right now. And it's like a $7,000 monitor. It's beautiful, but is it worth $7,000? Probably not. I mean, I had a $2,000 Samsung that was pretty close to the quality. It doesn't hold calibration the same way. It's not as perfectly accurate. If you're a videographer in Hollywood, you're going to want something like this. But how am I supposed to tell someone in COVID land, right, where we're all struggling to make a living at all, hey, you should spend $7,000 a monitor? Not going to happen. No. And so, and honestly, like I was talking to someone the other day about shooting at this particular temple where they make us stand really far back. I take the 200 to 400 to temple or churches for weddings or bar mitzvahs, and it kind of looks like overkill, but you know what? I get the shot. But when I teach, I don't teach people to use that because it's not realistic to think that other photographers are going to walk around with a $10,000 lens for a wedding.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So you have a 2009 Mac. Hey, listen, that's okay. If it runs, it does the job. You're good.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the biggest difference is just speed. Yeah. I mean, and honestly, you can get, if you're if you have a decent monitor, there are ways to build out a computer that doesn't break the bank that'll still get you a lot farther and closer to today's technology. And so whether it's a Windows machine, I mean, I do love the Mac, but Windows are cheaper. And then you get like I said, you can get a nice monitor that doesn't have to cost $7,000. You get really nice monitors for $400. They're not pro grade. So
no,
if you go off center and look at it, it's going to be different brightness than dead center. So for editing, you need to be dead center, stuff like that. But it's going to be fine. I chose not to go with the Mac Pro from Apple because the Mac Pro starts at like $8,000 for the desktop. It's too expensive. So you know what I did? I got a MacBook Pro. So I use a laptop as my main driving engine to this monitor with my Wacom tablet and everything, and that's my editing machine.
And if you can just get one, get an iMac with a 21 or 27 inch screen, and you're there. It's 80% of the XDR monitor,
Yeah.
5K resolution and in-plane switching and all that, so it doesn't change color when you move.
Right.
So it's close, and it's a computer and a monitor all in one, and and that's my main setup is the Mac.
Yeah, and Apple's monitors, they really hold calibration really well.
Yeah, it's weird. I have the iMac is my main screen, and then I have a 4K 32-inch 4K monitor to the right. That's just it's an $800 monitor. It's not great. And then I have my oldie but trusty LG monitor from like the 2005. That's to my left, and I don't put photos on that monitor because it's like it's blue and then it's green and then it's red and it's never quite the same.
I've got my calibrator here. Where is it? I can't see it, but I've got the calibrator. I use the Spider calibrator. Yep. Yeah, and it really does work.
Yeah, this one just doesn't hold. It's some days it's in calibration and it doesn't hold. Oh, watching us on your 50-inch TV. Yeah, see, that's what you should edit your pictures on.
No, don't do that. And he's also a liar because he says we're handsome. But it's funny. I've also got a TV here as well. I've been told that TVs don't have the right. I guess the pixels, because the pixels are square, round versus square. I don't know. It could distort your images too. I don't know, something like that. So yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I was just being facetious, but yeah, definitely don't use your TV as a monitor. There's reasons why we make computer monitors as monitors. So, any tips for someone who's just picking up a camera, other than they should sign up for my Photo Ninja 6-week course?
That's my only tip is just to sign up.
I love you, Jeff. Thank you.
No, the tip is really, so here's the thing. Have fun with it. Don't get so caught up in all this rules and crap that because people read books and like, oh, I guess I have to do this. No, just, learn. Like one of the books that I love is called Perfect Digital Photography. It's old. Jay Dickman wrote it. I had Jay on my, I think you were on that Zoom call. And This thing is like an older book, but man, it's just awesome. And it's a great book, and it makes it speaks easy. It doesn't it doesn't use all this technical jargon and crap. It just gives you ideas on how to shoot. And I love that. And so that's a good starting point. And then just going out and practicing. And I tell people, I know it's crazy, but I tell people if you want, email me some images, and I'll critique them for you for free and help you. And I do this all the time. Please don't send me 28 megabyte files. Resize them down a little bit. Also, don't send me 6K files. I've seen that too, where like they send me a picture like this big. What do you think? I'm like, I don't know. But I love to look at them and just tell people like, okay, your focus is off. You need to be doing this differently or whatever. And so, I try to guide them and give them help on how they can improve. And I think, again, I'm lucky to be in a position where I can do that.
Yeah. No. I think the thing that's so amazing that I think is so amazing about you, Jeff, is how much you're willing to give back, and it's something that I'm passionate about too. I think that we're blessed with a talent and the time to practice it, so being able to give back is a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a lot of people who've influenced us over the years, and I'm grateful for those people. That Jay Dickman, Moose Peterson, Joe McNally, friends like that, Scott Kelby, who, gives me Photoshop help, camera help. Dennis Reggie, who's a great wedding photographer, who I remember sending him an image. I'll never forget this. I sent him an image. And I'm like, look at this one. Like, I was so excited. It was a picture I took at a bar mitzvah. And he wrote back, he goes, garbage. And I'm like, what? Like, I was so surprised. And I'm like, why? And he's like, your lighting, it was too flash straight on. There was no dimension. There's no shadows. There's no creativity to it. And I'm like, okay. And I didn't sit there and go, I wasn't pissed about it. I was like, all right, I'm glad he told me the truth. I got to work on that. Right. And so, and he was a friend, so he helped me out. But it was having someone be tough on you is a great thing. Mm-hmm. And so when I critique people, I tell people, I'll write to them and say, I'm going to give you the truth here. It's a good photo, but here's the things that you could do better, and take this right. Because I tell people all the time, if you want someone to love your images, post it on Facebook. Because you could put a terrible image, out of focus, crooked, with an exit sign or garbage can in the background, and people are like, it's amazing. It should be a postcard. It's like, no, it shouldn't. And so I try to be honest with people because people were honest with me. And so giving back to me is just part of what I feel like. I hate it when photographers, and I see this, and they go, I'm not going to tell you how I did it. Because to me, it's like, really? Like, because here's the thing. Even if I tell people how I did it, you still have to have the years of practice to really perfect it, right? So getting someone there that they might be, a great photographer in 5 years, 6 years, 8 years, or 9 years. I'll be retired anyway, right? Whatever, like, or I'm competing against them. So be it. The next level comes in, and that generation that is good photographers. Cool. And like I said earlier, when Cowboy said he's inspired by me, I mean, holy crap! I mean, there aren't many people in the world that could say that that you inspire and change people's thoughts. And so when I get emails like that from people. And I've had emails from people who are cancer survivors or post-traumatic from after going to war. And one guy, he was in the military, and he said he was suicidal. And he picked up a camera and he started learning from my blog and my videos. And he said, like, it actually helped save his life. I mean, how do you top that?
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, that sure as heck is better than you taught me how to use my ISO correctly. Yeah, that's amazing. But that's why you do it, right? That's the end goal for education wise. Someone
was saying yesterday, no one dies and says, "I wish I had more money," right? Well, it'd be like, for instance, I spent a lot of years in technology, as in marketing, and I realized, like, one of the things I realized is, like, if I died, no one's gonna be like, oh, good, they sold more memory cards because Jeff was at Lexar. Like, really? Is that going to go on my tombstone? Right? So be able to influence people or make them happier or let them get a shot they couldn't have had if they didn't watch a video I did or something. That's cool. I mean, that's my little mark I'm going to make in life before I kick the bucket,
Or capture a family moment that they wouldn't have been able to capture before. That becomes something treasured.
Yeah. And, I was going through my dad's slides, actually. There's a pile of them over here behind me that I want to send out to be scanned. I was going to scan them. I'm like, nah, it's too much work. It's kind of sad, actually. And I was going to blog about this. I haven't done it yet. But I was going through his slides, and I'm like, Notre Dame, Champs-Élysées. I'm just tossing them all. Like, they're from the 60s. Oh, there's me and my brother. Keep her. There's my sister. Keep her. There's my mom and dad. Keep her. And it was like all the ones of the people in it is what I kept, and I threw it. And then it made me sad. And I thought, God, all the images I'm taking of animals in Africa or Costa Rica or Cuba, whatever, people in Cuba or whatever, like someday my kids are going to be like, and just dump them. Like, is that what we're destined for? Then it makes you reevaluate, So better to inspire people because, I mean, some of my Olympic images may live on in books or magazines or God knows what, but most of it won't. And so better to make someone's life better. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's well said. That's really well said. And it definitely makes you think. I started out as a wanting to be Ansel Adams and then into wildlife photography and now people. And there is just something just infinitely more rewarding about being that person that gets to capture maybe the last image with grandma that's ever taken before she passes.
People ask me all the time what my favorite image or my most important image I ever took. And it was my mom took us on a cruise. And it was formal night. And I took a picture of her. And she hated having her picture taken. And I took it and I did a little Photoshop work. I cleaned up a little bit. And, but she loved it. She actually liked that image. And then there was a botched surgery and she ended up passing away like a couple months later. Well, that's the image we used at her funeral. And that's the way I remember. I don't remember her. I was there when she passed in the hospital room. My brother and I spent the night, and that was horrible watching someone go. I don't want that to be my last thought about my mom. So I think about that photo instead. So I tell people whether you're photographing the Olympics, animals in Africa, people at a party, whatever it is, you're capturing history. So, and I tell people from that day, I realize, okay, I'm not a photographer, I'm a historian.
Oh, I love that.
And so I take that on, which is why I lose sleep when I did senior portraits for this kid, because they liked him. And they would have liked them even if I didn't use all the creative stuff I do with lighting. But I wanted them to be right. right?
Yeah, I think I call you basically every time I have a shoot with stomach nerves and nauseous. I drink some Pepto-Bismol before I leave in my
I
car
talk
every
you
single
down.
time. Talk
You're
me
going to be
down
fine.
because it's just it matters. What we do matters to the families that we do it for.
Well, especially if you do an event, right? Because
Right.
you can't say to them, "Oops, sorry, can you redo your wedding? Because I screwed it up."
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, so Cowboy said I think that's pretty cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's so cool. I think that's
Yeah.
awesome. Good. I'm glad you have some cool shots of them. You can share them. And you know what? Down the years, those will be important. They will always be important to them.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we're just over an hour, and I don't want to keep you any longer. I know you got
It's dinner time here.
It's dinner time for you, but just a couple of housekeeping. As I've mentioned at least once, if not twice before, my Photo Ninja educational series begins April 9th, 6:30 p.m. It's live on Zoom. You go to facebook.com/Jason Girello Photography, or where you're watching it, hopefully right now on Facebook. You can register for that. First class is only $6.99. If you love it, the other classes are $10 each. I think that's a pretty great deal. And then as it's scrolling at the bottom right now, Elkin in the Smokies. If you haven't seen my Elkin in the Smokies video from last year, my scouting trip, which happened early October of 2020 during the pandemic, check it out on my YouTube channel. But we'll be going back there as a photo workshop October 20th to the 25th. You can register on my website. Details there, and we would love to see you. I would love to see you there. I think.
Join you on? Is that the one?
Pardon me?
Is that the one that I might be joining you with? I don't remember. There's one that you and I talked about. But
yes.
All right, we'll see if I can squeeze that in there.
You're a busy guy, but come for the Jason and stay for the Jeff. But maybe that'd be the way we.
Well, I was going to add, actually, for those of you watching, I learn a lot from Jason too, and Jason has helped me in video stuff. His video editing is great. So,
thank you.
And if you see my YouTube videos with the intro, the really cool intro, that was done by Jason. So, but he actually helped me. We even talked yesterday about the webcam thing. So. Like I said, I'm the first person to say that I love getting inspired by other people too. So, it's cool. We bounce ideas off each other all the time.
Yep. Yeah. It's good to have a friend that is as crazy as I am. It's very helpful.
And we're both absolutely batshit crazy. Can you say that?
Right. That's right. Yeah. Hey, listen, you're what did I call you? A badass. So it's okay. Yeah. We can say it.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you all so much for commenting and being a part of this stream. Oh, Mrs. Jeff's DJI video?
Oh, my drone videos. You know
what? I
might start doing some more. We'll see.
Yeah. I actually had a really cool experience before. Now getting this is a squirrel moment, but I got to fly a drone inside of a banquet hall today for a video that I'm producing, which is very cool. So I was flying my drone around inside the building, and I'm like, man, sometimes I think I have a pretty darn cool job.
Did you have GPS in that building?
No, it was totally manual controlled.
Yeah, that's hard.
Yeah. I was paying attention because it's a multi-million-dollar on the oceanfront giant, 600-person banquet facility. But it was stressful, but I got some awesome shots. And so, yeah, sometimes we do have pretty cool jobs.
And you wonder why this guy stresses out the way he does there. That's why.
Yeah, that's why. Yes, Canon, we were just talking about that, Jeff. Canon has the kit online to make a DSLR webcam. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know. I mean, that's cool. I don't know if you need it. All you need is a USB cord, and you can get a power adapter from Canon or third party on Amazon. So, yeah.
And so Jeff is using the Canon webcam app. I had been using that.
Yep.
And it works fabulous. I'm using instead now a little Elgato cam. It's a little USB to HDMI cable port that plugs in. I found that it just seems to give me a better resolution when I'm a bit of a video nut. So it gives me a little bit better resolution. But either way works great. Super simple. And then you need like that power adapter so you're not running off of batteries. But it's awesome. You'll never ever want to go back to the crappy webcam built into your computer again.
That is true. And I won't.
Yeah.
There, it's your fault.
I'm sorry, but you're welcome.
There you go.
I'm a bad influence. I cost people money.
Yeah, but $6.99 for your classes is dirt cheap, so you're making up for it.
That's right. All right. Well,
that's my plug for you.
I appreciate it. Yeah. Hey, listen. The more people we get, I'll start giving you a cut. You get.
I don't want a cut.
50 cents for every registration.
Thanks. I'm good.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jeff. It was a blast as always, and hopefully we get to do this again soon. Thank you all for watching. And this is funny because last year we did this as a podcast, no video, and it was the adapted lens. And this is now my second as Jason Girallo Photography. That's me. I'm Jason Girallo, and I'm pretty excited that it's no longer two different brands and a lot of confusion. Yeah. It's just me.
That was my influence.
It was your influence. Absolutely. Get rid of the darn thing and make it who you are. So thank you for that. And with that, I will go full screen and we'll see.